Okay, obviously the need for speed is driving the evolution of new analytic solutions. Typically, you'll see that in the traditional is you've got some information you want to into a database. There's a number of analytics, it's sort of a closed area that's doing that performance, and then you're producing the results. Obviously that takes time. It's not reacting fast enough or being able to analyse fast enough. Still on stream analytics, we're looking at it's web-based, real-time, non-relational, being able to in-motion analytics of the millions of instructions per second and provide low latency results. Of course, we can start reading in traditional sources and start feeding through that for the other systems within the organisation. More of another example of that, of stream analytics, is it automates the process of detections, as we mentioned, continuous ingestion. Now, there's been a read information continually, but also be able to add in variables on the fly as we want to. It's not just a set of filters or a set of instructions I need to pick up certain information from email, satellite imagery, etc., etc. Allow us to add in other components. And obviously with facial recognition, number plate recognition through that, the technology is there to start adding in new components. We want to now track something that's come through. And obviously this still comes down to the human factor to make that decision at the other end, but it's a technology that's been used quite readily in a number of areas. But I just want to put in some sort of context, more simple terms, sort of technical terms, and I want to include William Hughes from the UK in this presentation. Picture yourself on the London Bridge. You're in the middle there, looking at the River Thames. It's got a very high and low tide. I think it's about 10 feet is the height and drop of the tide that's going to come through. Very strong in the in and out of the tidal flow. You want to be able to pick out a leaf. You want to pick out a branch, a barge, showboat, tourists. You want to look at facial recognition of that. You want to see what's actually on the surface as it's passing through you on the middle of the London Bridge. You want to be able to identify those components. You want to be able to associate those components. You want to be able to filter those through as it goes through into other systems, or analyse that as you're passing through, saying that this leaf is meant to be part of that branch, but it's all separate. But we're not on the surface of the water. We want to look at some depth as well. We want to see what sort of fishes, subs, unknown information that's up and down that tidal or the waterway. And of course, it's above the water as well. We're looking at what's on the London Eye. How many tourists go there? Is there anyone there trying to, target someone else on the street with a rifle, etc.? Facial recognition, whole range of issues. Data that's coming through. That is stream analytics. That's its capability to work with that information. Of course, data exists all over the world, in any state, city, country, and regional levels. This is just a sort of example with the pin holders. So obviously, there's a lot more, and they're all interconnected. And if it did that, then it'd just be one kaleidoscope of thing. So the question here is: can we receive, supply, summarise data without breaching privacy, regulatory, or security concerns? Well, yes, we can. I just want to quickly introduce XBRL. It's an open standard that's available for reporting. It's used in the sort of government and banking industries. And it was to reduce the number of forms people put entering as you go through, Medicare and all sort of government sort of requirements. So you have a single point of your information instead of having to do it multiple times. The quick best about this is that it has some sort of taxonomy in there. It allows you to encode business knowledge from one or more entities, so you can actually point to where it's come from, you're associating your details. Other components in there. What I'm getting through on here, as I move quickly, is that it's not only for just sharing of data, but it's also for analysing. And typically you would see analysing information like this on a company scale. You just want to know a company, you don't want to know privacy or sort of details, but you just want to know what their activity has been. And quickly here we're looking at what's in this capability is cube data. And for those who don't know that, is the ability that this information has already been summarised, already been analysed. So you're already looking at something that says what's the activity for, say, organised crime. It could be, vehicles, drugs, sex, the crime, the trafficking, etc. You're summarising those activities, but actually putting a lot of the privacy or that would be evolved in one transaction or one record in relational terms. Now, with XBRL, it's also used, it's currently used now within the Australian government. And it's the Taxation Office there, Security Investments Office of the State Revenues as part of the means. So there's another area that we can actually look at, pardon me, for gaining some in-depth knowledge. Another introducing content analytics, ability to look through unstructured content in, with video, streams, etc. It's an open standard that IBM's built, again with its R&D. It's available out in the open community there. A lot of other industries are taking it on board. And obviously you can read this a little more shortly. But the ability there is for unstructured content in its variety of formats. And it's used in a number of different areas for banking, health, insurance, fraud. So some of those skills that are used in these industries and technologies are applied to, on the crime analytics side, crime analytics, police records, calls, providing safety and optimising force deployment. Very quickly, another component, sorry about the IBM product naming, but part of the IBM's capabilities in master data management, looking after data in a whole range of formats. But I just want to highlight here something called the Infosphere, the Identity Insight. And it's really about looking at the intrinsic relationships, the whole, the 2 to 3 degrees of separation, who's related to, and that. But it's not only related to people, it also can be related to entities itself, for vehicles, planes, cargo, etc., etc. But it's also about the insight to the non-obvious relationship, how to be able to get through or troll through the information and see where are the connections that you don't know about. Who's the identity today, yesterday, and what they're likely to be tomorrow, looking at the patterns that are coming through there. So it sort of answers we had a key speaker yesterday, Simon Overland, Chief Commissioner, said this answers sort of part of that question is what we don't know. Well, it provides you with the capabilities. Well, I don't know about this, but I want to see the sort of relationships there. And as soon as an item or an entity has been tagged as part of a specific watch list or a thing of interest, then it's reassessed. The information is reassessed automatically as it is planted there to see what the other relationships are through there. And it's also helping for islands of data. There's a lot of duplicate data that's been captured on similar crime or perpetrators, etc., that they've actually just changed identity slightly. And there's another incident, they've been caught or they've been recorded within the agencies, but the two are they're separate. This identity insight allows you to look at those relationships and say, well, really, these 2,000 records are really we're talking about one identity, not 2,000 separate entities within an organisation. Including that, global name recognition, looking at the different ways of a specific name. Andre could be called, Adrian, Andre, all different types in the globe. Been able to look at some information, but not necessarily get all, that's sensitive to the privacy regulation and security concerns. Been able to look at that, still analyse, get your information and do predictions, but you're not actually getting a lot of those concerns from other agencies. This is looking at predictive analytics. And very quickly here we're looking at predicting threat infection in newborns 24 hours earlier, so those sort of capabilities of stream analytics, but this is predictive to see what's happening. Again, with crime and law enforcement, been able to predict crime patterns through time analysis of incidents reports, what's happening through there, so you can actually see or start looking at those formulas used through the SPS capabilities. With the use of these, specifically with SPS, statistical, is that not everyone has to be an analytical expert. It's gone from the days of being in the back room. We have a few of the technical experts using it, churning through the data, here's your report, and then feeding that through to the multitudes. It's now available to the multitudes to run, to utilise those examples, those models, those the knowledge that's already been built up within the agency or global agencies to say, I need to see what's happening, or there's just some predictability happening through there. That's talking more about what's capable there, predictive analytics, where it's been used in different areas with banks and finance. Here's a very simple example. It's more of an operational one, more than the strategic. But it involves showing just very quickly looking at some mapping data, looking at some incidences that have happened in the last 24 hours. It's actually like a commander's dashboard, or it could be a superintendent, so it can be a police officer, looking at what's available on what devices, what's happened in the last 24 hours. On the right-hand side, as you'll see it through there, it doesn't actually show all the capabilities. We're actually using some of the predictive analytics, saying what's happened in the last 24 hours. I want to predict something in the future, the 4-hour block, which could be from midnight to dawn, or from wherever it is in the next space. Based on what I'm actually selecting on this side, I'm analysing. I want to know where my resources, or where I need to look at, or whether we're active in a specific area. And this actually is looking at part of New York Police Department, and this is coming from their crime. The NYPD. But what you're not seeing on this side here is that there's other factors you can add into this, which is the weather, staff changeover, and other components. The moon cycle, is it a full moon tonight? Which affects the number of how, in this operational sense, how crime is going to be committed, or where it's likely to be committed. So there's a number of factors you can add into that role model within the predictive analytics. Smarter public safety is about putting clues and insights together from wherever they are, which is law enforcement, data exchanges. The information is really scattered everywhere, as we know. So in IBM's sense, we have the ability to, in this public sector space, to help from the capture for collection, through manipulation, analysis, actionable intelligence, and distribution of that, putting that jigsaw together of all that different sources. Very quickly, I want to mention, and it just was really, for those who don't know about this, last week IBM announced in its global research and development for its laboratory here that Australia now will have a research and development component with IBM. It's quite a significant announcement, because it's mostly been over in the States or the UK or the major countries that have had R&D from IBM, and it invests heavily. IBM invests heavily in its research and development in a lot of areas, and we've talked about the health space. What that means to Australia, and specifically here in Melbourne, is that there's a number of focus areas that's looking at the natural resource management and natural disaster management, and also in life sciences. I've underlined the natural disaster management because there are a number of applications there, like I talked about stream analytics and other components that really affect us in the public safety arena, which will mean that we will get better components, better utilisation. There's new technologies. What can we do to match these different data sources and capabilities together? I've added in a lot of web links there. If you've seen that, if you get on the website, follow those links. It's made quite a big news around the world. Prime Minister Gillard announced that I think it was $22 million over 5 years invested into this. IBM, I'm not sure on the exact amount of money, but I'm sure it's going to be quite a large subset. But it's going to be involving the sort of academia, scientists, engineers, business. And what I really like about it is the Australian content gets added in there. The influence. Thank you. I guess quickly questions.